the world has completely changed from when I was there and when I'm here now. This is my second time in the UK as an immigrant or as a resident of the country now. But I see a huge shift in all senses because back then I was a student.
Right.
I was not accountable to what I was doing. And now I am as a parent here. So I think I'm accountable to every action, every step that I take here.
We cannot be doing this policing 24/7.
No, absolutely not.
And I think it is detrimental to a parent-child relationship as well when
Correct.
you resort to such level of policing, when you resort to such level of monitoring. Then children lose that trust in you.
Correct.
They feel fearful to reach out
Correct.
to you and opening up about whatever is it that they might want to share with you.
So we were just having discussion on my student life back in the UK one fine morning, and
Yeah.
she said I always wanted to go to a different country to experience that country, and we want to give a new life to our daughter. I come from a value system or a background where we don't think much. We go by our gut instinct. So we take a decision and then try to make it right. That is the kind of systems that we come from, both me and my wife.
Hello and namaste everyone. Welcome to the Expat Parenting Show. Today, again, I have a very special guest, a very special friend, Rishikesh Lokapure. Welcome to the show, Rishikesh.
Thank you, Ruchi, and hi everyone.
Okay, so Rishikesh and I go long back. We have known each other for quite some time now. I don't remember how many years, 4-5 years. So, I think we know each other from 4-5 years.
I think about 5 years.
Yeah, in person once for sure. But virtually, we have interacted quite a lot. And the reason why we are here with Rishikesh today is, of course, you'll get to know in the podcast once we start the conversations. But nevertheless, I want to highlight the aspect that Rishikesh, being, let's say, of Indian origin, but he has lived in UK. Before he got married, he was working there. He moved back to India, had his family, got married, had his daughter. And now, since last year, again, he is in UK. So he's been transitioning over the years. And I wanted to bring this conversation to you to hear from him what has been his experience of moving to a different country now, even though he has been there, living there for quite some time. So this is more or less the context to you as audience. And now with a very short description, let's say I'll give a very short introduction about Rishikesh, of who he is, what he does. So Rishikesh, as I know him, he is a creative person. He's a copywriter, creative strategist, content consultant. He wears multiple hats. So anything to do with creativity, copywriting, brainstorming, he could be your go-to person. But yeah, nevertheless, very happy to have you over here today, Rishikesh. Welcome
Same.
to the show once again.
Thank you, Ruchi. And thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts. I think this is my first podcast as a parent. So I think I'm quite proud about where I've reached right now. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, because we have discussed multiple times over work-related things, and this is one thing that I thought that, I mean, we share, is what I believe. We share common parenting values, and it would be interesting to hear from you your experience and journey in parenthood so far.
Okay. So let me start from the start. I come from a privileged background. Why I say privileged? Because my parents probably took the right decisions at the right time so that they could afford my higher education in the UK.
Right.
Back then, I was thinking of doing my chartered accountancy. So I was doing my CMA education in the UK. This is back in 2007. I finished that education. I got into wealth management, started working with a bank, into financial services, investments, all of that. But then I think the world has completely changed from when I was there and when I'm here now. This is my second time in the UK as an immigrant or as a resident of the country now. But I see a huge shift in all senses because back then I was a student.
Right.
I was not accountable to what I was doing. And now I am as a parent here. So I think I'm accountable to every action, every step that I take here. And it's a very different and a humbling experience, I must say, now
Yeah.
that I'm here. So
Indeed, indeed. And that's where I want to take this conversation ahead because as you said that you came to UK after, let's say, you're completing your education, you
yeah,
did your job also, and then you moved back to India. So how was that transition? Because you started your family in India
yeah,
and now you came to UK when your daughter was 8 years old and you moved back
correct.
last year.
Yes.
How easy or how difficult was that decision for you as a family?
So easy and difficult are perceptions. What
Right.
might be easy for me might seem like a completely life-changing decision for somebody else. But I come from a value system or a background where we don't think much. We go by our gut instinct.
Mm-hmm.
So we take a decision and then try to make it right. That is the kind of systems that we come from, both me and my wife.
Right.
So to give you a little perspective on that, we used to go for morning walks together in India. And this is very recent. Last year, I think about February this. So probably this time we were already, I mean, this time last year we were already into the planning of coming to this country. But
Right.
somewhere around February last year, I remember we had gone for a morning walk as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife, she comes from a very sincere background. She is, I think, more educated, more sincere, more humble than what I am. I come from the opposite end of the spectrum. And we
I
were
know
just
you as a
discuss,
very humble person yourself, so I'm sure
yeah,
when you say that
the,
your wife is
yeah,
in comparison you scale her or rate her more higher.
yeah. So we were just having discussion on my student life back in the UK one fine morning, and
Yeah.
she said I always wanted to go to a different country to experience that country,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to give a new life to our daughter.
Okay.
Because we are, like I said, we come from a privileged background because we don't have to run around to meet our basic needs.
Right.
We probably are in a better position than probably what our parents were or their parents were. So I said, okay, let's go there. That was the only discussion that we had.
Really?
And yeah, absolutely. And we actually didn't know how to come here, what all complications we'll have to face because of our age. The only way that we could come here was because my wife wanted to study further.
Mm-hmm.
She's already a double master's. I am a double master's. So she said, okay, because you're a double master's and I am a double master's, I want to get into a triple master's
Wow.
and that I want to complete in the UK. So, I mean, the jokes aside, we were thinking, why not try and give our daughter the life that we were always dreaming?
Okay.
Because somewhere we realized that our parents were doing great when we were younger, but we all have that dream of going to a foreign country and
Mm-hmm.
living there, not just as a
Right.
tourist, but as a resident.
Right.
We were luckily in a position where we thought, why not go there and try to give that life to our daughter?
Mm-hmm.
And simultaneously try to make a living out of it. So she said, is it really possible? I said, yes, if we have decided, why not? And that's where the entire journey started of transitioning here.
Wow.
It's actually it's a grueling exercise when you have to move, especially,
Indeed.
yeah,
Indeed, it is. I can imagine. I mean, because I remember when I was moving here, and to
yeah,
be very honest, Luxembourg as a country, not many people know of
correct,
still, till
absolutely,
date. And when my husband told me we are moving to Luxembourg, the first thing I did was open the map and check where
yeah,
Luxembourg
where is it?
is. Yeah,
Absolutely,
because it's, although it could be like one of the countries which has the highest GDP per
yeah,
capita,
yeah,
but still, people know France, people know Germany, people know UK, people know
correct,
Belgium, but Luxembourg wasn't that known to Indian people that much. So
correct,
I remember the decision to come here and settle down here wasn't, I mean, let's say that easy.
yeah.
But having said that, like, yeah, of course, it began with the exercise of learning French, which of course I could not continue, as you know, very well. But yeah, it began from there.
So when I say grueling exercise, it's both financial and psychological
Yes.
because we come from a country whose currency is not as strong as that in the UK.
Right.
So, and why psychological? Because you are into a completely set life where
Yes.
even if you don't work for a few days, you are still okay
Yeah.
and you can have the best of everything.
Right.
coming from there to a country where you have to work every day to make a living is actually it's actually a big psychological war that you have with yourself.
Yeah.
But I said, yes, if you have to give a good life, why not? Let's give it a try. So this time we took this decision as a parent.
Hmm.
And for me, it was a dual decision because my wife was going to go back to studies and my
Yeah.
daughter was obviously going to get into her studies as well.
Right.
So at the same time, I have to look after two students. One is almost of my age, and
Yeah.
one is a daughter who takes care of both of us that way. So, I mean, luckily we are blessed with a daughter who's very sensible to understand what is happening. And she said, okay, I mean, without saying a word, she said that I trust your decision. We will be happy wherever we are. That kind of,
Wow.
I mean, that's where she comes from.
How
So,
beautiful that must have been for you
yeah,
too
yeah.
to hear this from her.
No, absolutely. Because I think we have always had a relation where, apart from age, nothing separates us.
Hmm.
We are still kids in our heart, in our head, and we try to go to her level. And she's matured enough to understand that whatever these guys are doing is for my betterment.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I mean, she's too young to put this into words, but from her actions, we have always realized that she realizes where we come from and what we are trying to do here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how we started this whole process of moving here. From whoever we spoke to, everyone said, this is not the right time to move.
At that point in time
Correct,
wasn't economically doing that great, and still it is not.
correct. And
Yeah,
then we come from a set life, I said. I mean,
absolutely.
our businesses were set, our family was set, we were doing good financially, personally, everything was fine.
Yeah,
Socially, we were doing great. We had good social angle to our life as well. So everything was set.
yeah.
So most of them whom we spoke to, they said don't move right now because economically the world is in a little turmoil.
Yes.
Your age might not support your visa. Your daughter is just trying to find her foot in this country. Why are you uprooting her and putting her in a different country?
Right.
So people usually like to put their fears upon us,
Hmm.
but their fears are the one that make them stay back where they are. So we always used to say, yes, you're right, and never used to follow what they say.
Wow, that's a good advice
Yeah.
to just listen to other people and just make them feel that they are heard. But yeah, you do what your gut feeling says or what your
Correct.
thought process says.
Because your time is limited. Either you can
Mm.
spend it in convincing them or
Yes.
convincing yourself. So
Yeah.
we took the latter decision, and then we said, okay, if people are saying you cannot go, then we definitely should. And then we just started manifesting as in thinking very positively about where you want to be.
Mm.
And actually, cut to 4 months down the line, we were in a different country legally.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. I remember. So, just to our audience here, Rishikesh and I were taking the flight on the same day, just that our
absolutely.
destinations were different. Luckily enough, coincidentally, we met at the airport before they were moving to London, and I was coming back to Luxembourg. Uh,
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, we have a very warm host today, where I think she came to drop us. I mean, she was representing India that time. I mean, India had come to drop us right till the boarding gate. So I
he,
think that was lovely of you, Ruchi.
You are kind enough to say that. It's just that the
Yeah,
bond that we share is something that made me want to meet you guys before you were leaving. And I'm
right.
looking forward to hosting you soon in
Lovely.
Luxembourg.
Same.
So, so yes. Okay, coming back. So when you were saying when you were sharing this decision of how you
Hmm.
were moving to I always say Luxembourg. So when you were moving to London, there were 2 points that stuck
Yeah,
with me. First was that you were leaving all the comfort behind, you were
yeah,
leaving all the set ecosystem behind in India
yeah,
and moving to a country with all the challenges and everyone that told you that okay, your age does not support you, UK is not a good place to be in economically, all those
yeah,
factors coming in, and then you separated that noise, that clutter, took your own decision, took your time as a family that, okay, this
yeah,
is what we want to do. This is, let's say, maybe in a way that you manifested this dream
yeah,
come true, is one aspect that I would like to go a little bit deeper. And the second thing which I want to discuss with you is on the aspect of the bond that you share with your daughter. And as a family, the three of you that share, you mentioned that all the three of you like behave, let's say, as same age as her.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which I have seen not a lot of people do, which I want like parents should do more often, because as adults, you tend to feel that, okay, you have become parents, so you have to act mature, you have to behave mature, you cannot crack jokes, you cannot be silly with them, you cannot behave, without without thinking too much. That kind of creates, let's say, a boundary which becomes difficult for kids to, let's say, open up with you. Like you said, that your daughter, like it's as good as friends, that she trusts you with the decisions that you have taken. She might not be able to express the way that we are discussing it right now, but you get the sense that she trusts you completely, and if she is looking forward to the life that you and your wife have chosen ahead with.
Correct.
So those are the two aspects that I wanted to touch upon. So maybe I'll go with the first one. So
talking about manifestation, I think it's a very interesting but very underutilized technique, especially for people who want to achieve anything in life, not just moving to a different country, but it could be anything. I mean, just while coming today before this podcast, it was raining and I had to go and pick my daughter, and she didn't carry her a jacket today because it was sunny in the morning and it started raining in the afternoon. Classic English weather we had here. So we started manifesting it should stop raining. And it actually stopped raining.
Yeah.
And as soon as we got home, it started pouring again. So that's an example of manifesting. Now it might sound silly, but it works. It works on the smallest things and the largest of things. The problem is we don't believe in ourselves, so we probably don't ask for more. So how we got our daughter involved in this whole decision making is she believes she's an artist and she's good artist. I mean, for her age, I think she is doing fantastic as an artist. She loves to paint, she loves to draw.
Wow.
So what we used to do is I used to write all my manifestations. Manifestation is you believe that things have already come true and you enjoy that process of being there.
Right.
So being a writer, I used to write everything. I used to give that paper to her and she used to start drawing.
Drawing it. How lovely.
Yeah. So I still remember when we were planning to come here, 12th September 2023 was the date that we had chosen to fly. Even before my wife had gotten admission into a university here, this is back in, I think, May 23, we had written that date of 12th September 2023 that we are going to fly. We gave it to our daughter. She made a drawing of a nice aeroplane, 3 windows in it, and we are sitting in that window seat. That date is written boldly on that drawing. And if you remember, 12th
we flew
night,
on the yes, we flew.
13th morning is when we flew.
Yeah.
I had already booked tickets 3 months in advance before we got our visa in hand, thinking that this is our way of manifesting. We are so confident that this is going to happen. That just everything is an eventuality. That's how manifestation works. Another beautiful thing is we were thinking that we are going to stay with an old lady who needs help, who's staying alone, who has a big house, and that is exactly the way we are staying right now.
Really?
We had even asked our daughter to, because she likes doing a little art, she had created a little house and everything was written on the house, and we are staying in the same house today.
Wow.
In the UK. So manifestation does work.
It does for sure. And I want to take this point and link it with people who are uncomfortable coming out of their comfort zones, especially when moving to a new geography.
Correct. And it was a big decision in that terms, because coming out of a set life is usually difficult.
Absolutely.
It's easy to move if you're struggling because that's the natural way of progression.
Yeah.
But coming out of a set life is difficult. But again, what I realized is if you know how to build a sand castle, I'm sure a lot of us have gone to a beach and tried to build a sand castle.
Yeah.
You might fail once, you might fail twice, but eventually you build a sand castle.
Yeah.
And once you build a sand castle, next time it becomes easy.
Yeah.
is the same with taking a decision. If you've taken a decision and made it right once, you can make it right every time.
Yeah.
So if you have built your life in one country, you can build your life in any possible country. The only answer is, are you ready to give the time and effort that is required? And that is what we're not ready to give.
That is interesting because what also comes with changing country, or let's
Yeah,
say even when you change cities, the biggest fear that most people have is, oh my God, I'll not have my friends. Oh my God, I'll not have my family around me. What
correct,
will I do? Let's say the thought process, the whole conversation then revolves around that that I cannot do that because I fear that I will lose all these support systems. And what I've also seen, like based on my interaction with my friends here, is
yeah,
that, and I could be wrong, that at this age where we are currently, like biological age that we have, that
yeah,
we are in our late 30s or early 40s, some of them, is nobody wants to invest time in building new relationships.
correct,
And this new relationships is new friends, so they don't have the time and effort to make this, or
correct,
neither they are interested to do so. So that also kind of limits them to take this decision of moving to a new geography.
correct. And there's nothing wrong in that. I mean, it all comes to personal choices. But then what I've realized is, if you love socializing, we have actually created a new family here.
Yeah.
We actually don't miss our family back home. Obviously, we miss for certain times when they're celebrating and we're not there. But then we don't miss it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
One, because we've got technology, so at a click of a
Yes.
button you can connect today.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case even in 10 years ago. So
10 years ago when you were there alone.
we have transitioned that way. But then we have built a family here. I mean, we come from India, but around us we have people staying who come from Hong Kong, who come from Iran. We have somebody from Mauritius, Singapore. And today, after say 8 months of staying together around,
Yeah.
they have become a family
Yeah.
to us. So when they want to eat spicy food, they come to come to our place. When we want to eat something Oriental, we go to somebody else's place.
Yeah.
We want to eat something Middle Eastern, we go to somebody else's place.
Yeah.
So family is what you decide, whom you choose to be. Your friends could be your family, your neighbors could be your family, your colleagues could be your family as well. You don't need to have your blood ties
Right.
and call them family. In fact, a lot of times you'll realize your friends are the first who come to support you in any circumstance. So they are your family.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you never feel alone that way. And I
Yeah.
mean, at least that's how we have always looked at it, and that's exactly what we tell our daughter as well. You decide your family. It doesn't matter if they're your parents, your blood ties. Whoever you trust are your family.
Now, I'll go back to building this family for yourself, or building this
Yeah.
friends or community around you, because I remember that we had this extensive discussion last time when we were speaking to each other,
Yes.
and you told me how you, like, every weekend you
Yeah.
guys look forward to meeting each other, and then having
Correct.
meals like potlucks, and gather at one place
Yeah.
and meet each other. But of course, because I know this, that you are a social person, you enjoy taking
Yes.
initiative and meet people and have conversations all over. I want to ask you this part, that was it the same before you arrived there? Like, were the things pretty much the same when you arrived there? Or is it
Uh,
after you moving that even the people around, like in the vicinity, started meeting each other more frequently?
I personally feel people are always good. They're good at heart, but somebody has to take that initiative of telling them that you're a good at heart. So that is my job. I mean,
Right.
our job.
Yeah.
So if you take that initiative, I think the whole life you're going to enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's always this fear that people are, that I'm going to go to a strange land or a new country where I don't know anyone.
Exactly.
And I think everyone faces that, especially who move from one place to another, be it
Yeah.
from even from a one apartment to another, or a one country to another.
Yes.
We have all felt that, and it's very natural to feel that. But then I realized, people, if there are two strangers, that means they're in the same boat.
Yes.
So you find something that is common between you and that person, and you're no more a stranger.
You no
That's
more a
how.
stranger. Yes. And food helps a lot in bringing
Oh,
people together.
absolutely. Absolutely. Food, random conversations, not expecting anything from each other,
Right.
that gets people going. And how that has helped is, since both now we are in a situation where I work both in UK and in India,
Right.
and I'm freelancing here as well. So
Yeah.
most of my time is in meetings. My wife is studying and working at the same time.
Right.
And we don't have that privilege that we had back home of a joint family. So now our daughter has five more families to look after her,
Wow.
which was not planned
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
initially because we don't know where we are going to stay.
Yes.
Uh, but now they are happy because in these five houses, she's the only little one. So she is absolutely pampered
I
that
can
way.
imagine.
Yeah. So when that usually happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And going beyond that, I think I am lucky to have built a very nice social circle as well because I believe in volunteering or working for society a lot.
Yes.
And eventually they became my family.
Hmm. Yeah,
Your
I was coming to that. Good that you mentioned this because, yeah, again, I mean, offline we speak quite a lot, and
Yes.
I know more about you on the different things that you're doing. But to the audience here, I'll tell you that, yeah, as I mean, as you might have got to know in the last few minutes, that yes, Rishikesh is a very social person. He
Yes.
likes to take initiative, and volunteering is one of them. And that I would like to, let's say, dig deep into so that let's say people who are moving to new countries can take some inspiration from that, because many a times what I found is even parents, expat parents, one of them typically moves like with, okay, one of the partners is moving to a new geography because they have found better work opportunities,
Yeah.
but then the other partner, the other spouse, has to start from zero.
Correct.
And that process, it is very traumatizing for most of them. It's let's say it's also in some places they feel, I would say, underconfident
Yeah.
at times, that
Yeah.
okay, I've done that, but I've done that years ago, but in my own native country. And it is the normal, again, normal human tendency that you do not appreciate the effort that you have put in
Correct.
establishing yourself. And once you have done that, you feel that okay, your talents or your skills are restricted to the place that you come from, and you cannot take them away. So the
Correct.
transferable skills, the aspect like which companies these days are highlighting so much, they do not feel comfortable in taking those skills away to a new place, and they
Correct.
feel afraid of going into this new place. So yeah, I would like you to share a few tips to the parents who are in this similar situation,
Hmm.
where either one of the partners is looking for work opportunities, because I know that you have built your network from scratch in the UK again,
Yeah.
even though you were there studying earlier, working earlier, but then it's been over 10 years for you.
Yes.
And since then, a lot has changed. The connections that you knew, even though if they exist, but and you're still in touch with them, might not have helped you in the current phase that you are in.
Correct.
So, what tips would you like to give to such people?
I think I don't have tips, but I'll share a few experiences
Hmm.
that I have. So probably
Yeah.
people can pick up things from there.
Yeah.
There's something called as a UK experience that I came to know when I came to this country. And that UK experience is how you deal with people.
Mm-hmm.
In India, there's a different way of working. In UK, there's a different way of working. Every country has its own way of working. Now, to understand that way of working, either you can get into a job straight away or you can start from the grassroots.
Mm-hmm.
Getting into a job straight away is everybody's dream, but
Yeah.
not sadly a reality for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
So I thought the best way to understand the country, the culture is to get into volunteering because
Hmm.
that's where you get to interact with people without filters.
Right.
And then that helps you as well. I mean, I know that I can speak good English, but
Hmm.
that English is of no use if people don't understand what I'm trying to speak, especially in this country.
True.
I think it was the same with you in case of French.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so I thought I'll develop my interpersonal skills. I will probably groom myself a bit to mix in this culture. I'll try to work on bit of my accent. I'll try to
Hmm.
understand the pulse of people because I come from creative background.
Yeah.
So to understand creativity, you need to understand people.
people. Absolutely.
So in my case, that's why I got into volunteering. And then I have insatiable thirst to meet people. I mean, that's where all my stories come from. I mean, I don't imagine people, those people have interacted with me some or the other time in my life.
Yeah.
That's how I got into volunteering. And then there is a higher purpose of giving back to the society where you're working, which is helping you to grow in your life. So all of even that matters. So both me, my wife, we are into volunteering, but with different organizations. I am working with organizations which are trying to help migrants like me, like us, to get into mainstream.
Okay.
And my wife is trying to help others since she comes from a psychology background. She's trying to help people who have had psychological barriers or they have faced any kind of abuse in their life to come out of that trauma. That is what we are trying to do. So we are trying to extend our professional expertise, experiences, or personal set of values to volunteering.
Right.
Why? How that help is the organizations that we are now associated with, they became our referees because in these countries you need references.
Yeah. It's a
And
lot network oriented.
absolutely. And if you're not working anywhere, you cannot build professional experiences.
True.
I mean, your professional references you cannot build.
True.
These people were the first ones to stand behind us and say, we know these people in person. That helped us in very small things. I mean, something as small as opening a bank account.
Yeah.
It might seem silly, but
Yes.
even a bank account needs two references.
Yeah.
Or to get a new house or to get jobs. I mean, the entire life that we have built right now, even if it's a very small or negligible to what we were doing back home, everything is built through referencing. And these references came from that volunteering. It was unplanned and it was not a very selfish move, but that's how things happen. I mean, when you give, you get back.
Yeah.
But unless you give, you're not going to get back as well.
So that's I think the law of nature.
Correct. And there are two outcomes from it. Either you sit at home and think of yourself as a victim, saying, I was dragged to this situation. I didn't want to be in this life. Or you say, now that I'm in life, what best I can do out of it.
Yeah. You accept that situation and then you take initiatives to make things work for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we chose the latter. Absolutely.
You always make the wise choice.
Not a wise choice. You make the choice and then become wise about it.
That's also a good way to put that. Okay, so now I'll come back to my second question, which is more to do with your daughter. Because in this chain of thoughts, we moved ahead with the flow.
Yeah.
Circling back over there, like how was this transition for your daughter? Of course, you mentioned that, yeah, she was comfortable moving here. She was looking forward to being here. She also started, let's say, co-manifesting this dream with you. And now she has found 5 other families to support her, to look after her, who are pampering her. How, like, what were the things, if you can, let's say, think about since you have moved there from September 2023 onwards until now, what have been those few moments in your daughter's life which you feel like that, okay, now you feel that she is on her own, she's well settled, and she's enjoying your decision to be here in London?
So if I have to be very honest about it, out of the three of us, she was the first to settle in this country. Because the system here is built in such a way that the kids are most looked after.
Okay.
I mean, the school is close to your home. The teachers don't use
that is by law that the school is where you reside. I mean, in the nearest vicinity, you have to pick the school. Okay.
Correct. So that's by law here, especially for kids. So I mean, which means you're never away from your home, both psychologically and physically.
Okay.
Then the school, the beauty of these schools is you get to meet and interact with people from multiple nationalities, which means everybody is equal.
Yeah.
So there is no bias around it. I mean, if my daughter is not able to speak good English, I mean, good English with an accent, it's the same situation with all the kids.
Yeah. Because UK again has a very large number of expat population.
Correct. A lot of expats come here. then the way they are teaching is amazing here because it's you don't need to learn a lot. You
Hmm.
need to experience a lot.
Yeah.
That is what we realized.
Yeah.
And that's what we started doing after we get into our professional lives. But
Hmm.
somehow the system here is so matured that these kids get to experience more than blindly learn things, concepts. If you use your senses towards learning, you're
Hmm.
going to never forget it.
True, true, true. I can say similar thing for the education system here too. I mean,
Correct.
because it's more experiential, as you said, it's more playful.
Correct.
Kids even do not realize that they are learning something. It's
Correct.
that interactive, it's that joyous to them that they enjoy doing the activity that they are doing. And
Correct.
in that way, they are learning as well. Even
Yeah.
for mathematics, things like mathematics, they are playfully doing addition, subtraction without realizing that they are actually doing it and they are learning addition and subtraction.
Absolutely. I mean, but I think where she found a little challenge is she could understand English because
Hmm.
she's very young that way.
Yes,
And in
yes,
India, in spite of coming from English schools or international schools per se, the way we interact in our families is in our regional language.
exactly.
And here, regional language is your national language, is your professional language
Yes,
as well.
because yes, UK like probably like US would be a special case where English is the only spoken language. Like
Correct.
professionally at home, everywhere people
Yeah.
speak English. Like over here in Luxembourg, at least I can say it is different because yeah,
Correct.
here there is a challenge of plenty that on an average people speak at least three European languages, and if you're speaking less than three, you're like, okay, you're an exception.
Exactly. So in her case, the situation when we came initially was
Hmm.
that she got into very good school, which was close to our home. Everything was nicely tick marked. She could understand what her teachers are saying, but
Hmm.
she couldn't respond to them
Okay.
because the way she always responded was in her local language since she was very young
Yeah,
because we
yeah,
moved
yeah.
here. So for her, I think the biggest challenge was to learn how to respond.
Hmm.
By now, she has learned it, but I think a few initial months she found it a bit challenging.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The second biggest challenge was, especially in India, we have a two-wheeler and a four-wheeler to go anywhere you want to go, whether it's a short distance or a long drive.
Yes.
In here, you have to walk or use a public transport initially
Yeah, yeah.
until you move to a certain level where car becomes your default option.
Right.
So, so that was, I think, a challenge that she always spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
But now those walks have become enjoyable because that's where we get to gel the most.
Mm.
She shares about her personal situation, personal experiences. We talk about the same. So that's where we have started learning. And I think something that was very interesting was for her to understand that there are people or students who come from different ethnicities,
Yes.
different backgrounds, and to speak to them without keeping any bias in your head.
Yeah.
So I think those were her challenges, but I think the system is built in such a way that kids quickly pick this up and move forward. They
Yeah.
the beauty is they don't analyze as much as we do. So I think
That's
they
the
are
beauty with being kids, right? I mean,
correct.
there's no space or scope for over analysis.
Correct.
I don't think so. There is even space for analysis
Absolutely.
because they're just going with the flow and enjoying what's coming across them, and they share their thoughts as and when they pop up.
Correct.
They
Correct.
do not think that often that okay, if I say that, what will happen if I say this or do
Correct. There are
that.
no filters.
There are no filters.
Correct.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and the challenges that you mentioned are, now that I think upon, is yeah, pretty relevant because
Yeah.
again, languages become a constraint. Like I have seen for a lot of people who are moving to, let's say, Central Europe, because
Yeah.
again, every country has its own regional language. You go to France,
Correct.
you have to speak French. You go to Germany, you have to speak German.
Yeah.
Luxembourg, special case, you have to know French, you have to know German.
Yeah.
You have to English you can work with very comfortably. That's why I'm surviving. But
Right.
so yeah, different countries have different languages, and then on top of that, I've seen a lot of parents struggle with that. Okay, if I move with my family over here, and if my
Hmm.
kid is going to a school, the first concern for them is finding a school wherein they have, like, let's say maybe either it follows an international curriculum or a
Yeah.
British curriculum wherein the mode of teaching remains English. because English, let's say, by far is the widely accepted
Yes.
or widely used curriculum. English-based learning, English-based teaching is the widely used curriculum across the globe. So
Yeah.
people find, like, more than children, I think it's the parents or the adults to take this decision that, oh,
Correct.
my kid will not be able to cope up learning a new language, without giving a second thought that kids are the most fertile and the most quick in adapting and learning new languages.
Absolutely. And I mean, especially in the UK, what happens is I've seen parents, especially who are very particular about which school does the child go to. Because in here there's a concept of a good school and an outstanding school, which is
Okay.
rated by an independent agency.
Okay.
So
And does that
naturally,
have to go, does that have to do with the curriculum also? Like a good school or an
yes,
outstanding school?
no, the curriculum is set by a central agency, which is the government,
Yeah.
but the facilities,
Okay.
the reviews, the teachers is something that differentiates a good school or
Versus an outstanding.
versus outstanding or a school that is improving. Now, outstanding schools. But outstanding school means all the houses in that vicinity will be very costly to rent or to buy.
Yes.
They will be in the most posh areas
Yeah.
in general. And in general, the standard of life is a little higher. So we chose a school which we thought is good for her, where we thought that she would gel with other people, and I think she is doing fantastic for her age and what she's supposed to do. So
Yeah.
that's the background we come from. So, and just to reiterate, it doesn't really matter which school your kids go to, because today I might, as a child, I had never even imagined that I would be doing this today.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. And that's again, I think, an important, let's say, takeaway for parents, whoever are watching this, that let your children explore whatever comes across to them in life. And not necessarily, I mean, it's our own personal biases or it's our own personal
Correct.
limitations or inhibitions that we impose on our children.
Correct. Absolutely.
So we should not do that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, I'd like to ask you and take the trajectory of a discussion towards a different line, which is more in terms of, I know that, okay, you have a single child and it's a girl child.
Yeah.
How, I mean, does it bother you specifically in terms of her security as a girl child while you were living in India and then now you moved to the UK? Does it bother you anyway? And what are the things or measures that you take, or maybe the conversations that you have with your daughter concerning that?
Got it. So I'll try to break this because I think there are multiple aspects to this. So it's not about the girl child or the boy child. I mean, the gender doesn't matter. I think if you are a parent, you are bound to be concerned about the safety and security. I mean, and no matter how many children you have, whether it's one, two, or multiples. So it actually doesn't matter then. So,
Yeah.
and whichever country you're in.
Right.
So safety is, I think, the priority. Yeah,
It's the priority and the primary concern for all parents.
correct. It becomes a little, I mean, you become a little more aware about this if you're moving out of your comfort zones.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to find your footing. You don't know what you're heading into. Is the
Right.
area safe? Is it not safe? So I think the best way that we realize to handle this is to educate your child about everything that is going to happen. That doesn't mean you scare them, but you prepare them for everything's going to happen around.
Okay.
How we try to do it is, I mean, a little while ago I said no filters.
Yeah.
So we have always had no filtered conversations with her.
Okay. Can you give an
And
example?
absolutely. I don't know if this is a good example to give, but then, I mean, she's come to an age where she realizes that having more friends who are girls is more important than having friends who are boys. So she's into that boys versus girls kind
Yeah.
of age right now.
Right.
So she wants to be friends with girls because she's very young. She's just in year 3 right now.
Yeah.
I'm sure going forward that might not be the case. It will probably be the reverse. And you have to be prepared for that as a parent.
Yeah.
Because it's very natural.
Yeah.
But then, so we are not telling her what is right and what is wrong for her. We let her decide. Another is both me and my wife are vegetarians by choice, not by compulsion.
Okay.
But we have let her to decide whether she wants to eat meat or not to eat meat. It's up to her. We have had very open conversations about both the positives and negatives of consuming meat and consuming vegetables as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there would be always positives and negatives of anything that you do.
Yeah.
And too much of anything is bad, either too much vegetarian food or too much meat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to her to decide what she wants to continue. Um, Maybe some parents might feel she's too young to decide, but I think the kids of today are more informed than what we were as kids.
That's
So,
correct.
so she's open to decide on that. Then she's open to deciding whom to be friends with, whom to not be friends with. So we don't actually monitor that. I mean, we know her friends,
Yeah.
we know their families, where they come from. That's on our side,
Yeah.
but it's up to her whom she wants to be friends with.
Yeah.
Because if you monitor or if you police everything, then you're trying to define everything in their life, and then
Yeah.
that is actually when they start drifting away from you, is what I've realized.
Yeah. The open
Whereas,
conversations that you have with your children, they start
correct,
stopping because now you are putting too much restrictions, or
correct,
you are interrupting them in between. You're trying to make them do or speak, or let's say make friends of particular in a
yeah,
particular way that you want them to do,
correct.
but they might want to do something different.
Correct. And then there are small things that impact them. I mean,
Hmm.
coming from a country with a particular religion and to coming to a country with where all religions are equal in a way,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they see people wearing different costumes, or I mean clothes, or people speaking different languages, people, I mean kids praying to different gods,
Yes.
following different religions,
Yeah.
different moralities. They open their tiffins and they find something else in the tiffin.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to tell them is everybody is equal,
Hmm.
and it's okay if you don't understand, learn it. It's
Hmm.
okay to not follow it as well.
Hmm.
So it is up to the kids to decide what is right and wrong for them, because honestly they come from different times,
Yeah.
and we are trained in a different time, in a different geography.
Yes.
The sensibilities completely change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, a little while when I said no filters, we have no filters in conversations as well. They are, I mean, my daughter she has the same relation that she has with me and her mother.
Hmm.
Usually, fathers are supposed to be stricter or mothers are supposed to be stricter. In our case, I think we are both strict and we are both friendly at the same time.
Right.
Uh, so, I mean, we pamper her a lot, but we make sure that certain things are not given to her at the same time as well. So, we want to tell her that we are parents at the end, but we are friends as well.
Hmm.
And I think that helps because we have had the most interesting conversations. She has had very awkward conversations with us as well. She has put us in awkward spots as well, where we are trying to learn because, I mean, she's a daughter, but even we are parents for the first time.
Exactly. Exactly. We might not have all the answers in the first go. We
No,
might not know everything that
correct,
our children come up and ask us.
correct. So, I mean, it's a very open and a give and take relation that we have.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So your daughter and my son is pretty much the same age,
Yeah,
right? And so to our audience, if you're okay, so yeah, they are 8-year-old and they are in this age wherein the use of digital media, the use of devices around us is very attractive to
yeah,
them.
yeah,
Uh, as a parent, like this is a global phenomena. So irrespective of whichever country you are living in, whether you're an expat or a non-expat, does not matter. But this is a
yeah,
common observation and a common concern for most of the parents that they want to keep their children away from devices. They want to limit their screen time. But at the same time, most of them also struggle with this guilt that they are not able to give their child enough time or they are
correct,
not able to spend quality time with them. So, in that guilt, most
correct,
of the times they end up giving them gadgets, thinking that at least the child would feel happy.
correct.
How have you? I do not know, and we haven't spoken about this offline as well
Yes,
in terms of, let's say, the use of devices. Do you
yeah.
do that with your daughter? And if so, then how do you limit that or control that or keep
Um,
some checks and balances?
Okay, so I'll again try to break that.
Hmm.
So more what most of us are trying to do is we are trying to use the device as a babysitter these
Hmm.
days because we think we are too busy. and kids are in a way a hurdle to what we're trying to do, we quickly give them a phone or a laptop or a tablet, thinking that they'll be busy.
Hmm.
We have always believed you can never be replaced. You, as in the parent, can never be replaced in
True.
your kid's life.
Yeah.
So if they are expecting your attention, let them have your attention, even if it is for a few seconds or a few minutes.
Yeah.
Because there is something that they want to get out of the system, and you are their only sounding board,
Hmm.
especially if you're living in a nuclear family.
Yeah.
So they are expecting your attention, and you don't give it. If you don't give it, they're going to look for an alternative, which
Hmm.
eventually becomes a device.
Hmm. In today's time,
Correct.
unfortunately.
Yeah. So if you're able to do it, uh, give that time. If you're not able to do it, let them know what is right and wrong for them on that device.
Hmm.
Because that device can help them learn or take them the other way as well.
True.
Because no matter how much you want to monitor, kids are very smart. Probably they'll put a parental lock on the phone and you'll not even realize it. And age
Yes.
doesn't matter here.
Yes, yes. Kids, in fact, the next generation coming forward, like even 2, 3 years, every 2, 3 years, the kids are, I think, I feel like they are technologically more advanced than the
Correct.
earlier generation.
They're
Even in a
always
span of 5 years, I've
correct.
seen kids using devices so comfortably as if that they were born with it.
No, absolutely. And it's not just about devices. If we go a little back in history, there was a time when books were introduced,
Yes.
and the generations before books thought the books were demonic
Hmm.
because the books had the ability to change your thinking. So
Hmm.
don't give it to kids
Ah.
because kids were spending too much time reading books and not paying attention to parents.
Hmm.
So what devices are doing today were what books were doing back then.
Hmm.
Eventually, it became normal, and now we all are reading books.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Then the same happened with newspapers. The same happened with radio, television, computers, and now devices. I
Yeah.
mean, devices as in your smartphones.
Smartphones or tablets or iPads,
Correct.
yeah.
So there has always been something that we as kids have not used, the parents have not used when they were kids, and now that has been introduced to your kids. So
Yeah.
anything that we don't understand, we blankly put it as a bad thing.
Yeah.
But what we have tried to do is we want our daughter to stay in touch with our mother tongue, our regional language, our national language, as much as she knows English.
Hmm.
We want her to know what's happening in the world.
Right.
We want her to know what's good and bad for her.
Yeah.
So we keep on educating her indirectly, directly through stories, to games, through conversations, and then check her by giving that device to her on
Yeah.
what she's trying to do, because that is the way we measure our understanding as parents.
Hmm.
So when we give the device to her and she's watching it without any parental guidance or control, you can obviously check that history and know
Yes.
what she's trying to watch.
Right.
And luckily, she's watching the right thing.
Yeah.
So we are okay in giving a device. We don't strictly police or we are not very stringent on not giving a device
Yeah.
because she sees us as parents connected to a device 24/7.
Yeah.
Because we are always checking our emails on phone. We are connected on our video conferences. We are
Yeah.
connected to our teams remotely around the world. So
Right.
she always sees that barrier between us and her. I mean, this device eventually becomes a barrier between the child and the parent.
Right.
We don't want her to feel that this is a barrier. So she has a device as well, but we know what she's doing on the device. The problem is when you don't realize what they're doing on the device.
True.
So that's how,
When they become smart enough to even delete that history.
I mean, smart enough, but oh, that is where the trust factor comes in.
Hmm. And that's beautiful because, yeah, I mean, we cannot be doing this policing 24/7.
No, absolutely not.
And I think it is detrimental to a parent-child relationship as well when
Correct,
you resort to such level of policing, when you resort to such level of monitoring, then children lose that trust in you.
correct,
They feel fearful to reach out to
correct.
you. and opening up about whatever is it that they might want to share with you, irrespective of whatever age is it. I mean, for my kid, I remember, I mean, of course, the issues are different at this age versus if I see
Yeah,
if it's a teenage, there would be different kind of issues that they'll be dealing
correct.
with. But at
Yeah,
this age, it's like, okay, I did this, one of my friends did that. And even if my son misbehaved at times, I mean, having that conversation, hearing from him being able to share with me that, I did this and mama, I was wrong at this place.
correct.
This level of comfort, I want to be in a situation that no matter what happens, if even if he grows up, he should be in a similar situation that even if he's wrong, he's comfortable sharing it with me.
Absolutely.
Which if I, because I had this tendency and I would like to accept this as well, it might help other parents too. I had this tendency to reprimand him, to scold him, as parents we all do. And I remember that my son became really afraid of sharing things with me. I had to take that step back, realizing that what is going wrong over here, to realize that, okay, if he needs to start sharing the truth, the true version of the sequence of events that might have happened, which
Correct.
led to a certain thing, him doing something, I have to give him that safe space so that he opens up with me and he's able to freely accept that, okay, I did this, I was wrong. Don't get angry, don't get mad at me.
Right.
But yeah, that's this comfort level is something that I really felt was missing. And then I had to take some steps to go back, work on myself, and provide him that space that, okay, you can discuss it with me. I'll not get angry, because the first action, the first, let's say, the default instinct in me was to scold him,
Correct.
which I had to undo. So
Now, yes, I mean, from those past 8 years of parenting, what I have, at least I have realized is both intimidation and education are your tools.
hmm.
But as a parent, we need to know what to use when.
When, yes.
If we can find that right balance, I think your children will be your best friends and
True.
they will feel the same about you.
True, true. And as you also rightly said that, yeah, as we are also first time parents. Like
Exactly.
we may not know things, we may not know what to do. It's only learning by experience. So I think I learned by my experience, and
Absolutely.
you might have had your own learnings in this journey of 8 years so far. Okay, so now I will take this conversation to more of a conclusive aspect. And there
Hmm.
is one thing which I want to discuss with you specifically, like moving from, again, I'll come back and discuss this. I've discussed this multiple times,
Yeah.
doing this transition from India to the UK. Uh, I've read a lot about that there are mental health related issues and bullying
Yes.
challenges in the UK for children. And parents also feel, handicapped in a way to deal with it. They also
Correct.
feel anxiety. They also have mental health issues in the UK. Have you experienced that or observed in the people that you have interacted with so far?
Yes, definitely mental health is a big issue.
Hmm.
And I don't say everybody has that issue, but not coming out is a big issue now.
Hmm.
We need to know as parents, because sometimes it can get overwhelming, because
Yeah.
you're supposed to look after your family, you're supposed to look after finances, then you're supposed to look after your legal situation, legal as in, can you legally stay in the country?
Right.
Uh, are there any hindrances? And there are very small things that might affect you in a big way. Mostly parents don't have the leverage of getting their parents staying along with them.
Yeah.
Our
Because
kids.
legally we cannot.
Correct. I mean, legally, financially, your
Financially,
situation could
yes,
be
yes,
very different, or
true.
your houses not might not permit you to get your friends and family staying together the
True.
way you can do back
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your
yeah.
own country.
Yes.
So at least your kids have you, but whom do you have
Hmm.
when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel intimidated, when you feel sad or little down?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yes, mental health is definitely an issue, and that's why you need a network around you who will not judge you and who will support you in the right way.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that definitely happens. I mean, I remember because this is my second time in the same country, things are very different here.
Yeah.
Back then, when I was a student, I could even survive on a cheese sandwich
Yes.
because you're younger and
Yes.
you are, say, full of energy and you have too many things to do.
Hmm.
But as a parent, that cheese sandwich is not an option for you, for your kid.
True.
So that can be your lunch, but that cannot be your dinner,
Yeah.
especially.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you feed your kids, I mean, you give them a balanced diet.
Yeah.
Now, balanced diet means you have to earn X amount of money because everything is indirectly the denominator is money for everything.
Money. Yeah. Financially, you have to be well
Correct,
enough to be able to look after your family well.
correct. And you don't carry unlimited amount of money when you move to a different country. There's always a limitation there.
True.
So when you look at all of this, there might be times when you actually feel overwhelmed.
Hmm.
But then there are a lot of support structures I've seen here that listen to you, that help you come out of the situation. Because we might feel we are in this situation, but before us, there have been a lot of others who have probably got into the same situation, probably even worse than us,
Yeah.
and have successfully come out of it.
Right.
So coming out and discussing it with people is very important because
Yeah.
if you don't come out, you go deeper.
Yes, it's important for you to get the things out of your system, and the only
Correct,
way you can do is by interacting with people around you.
correct.
So yeah,
And you never,
social currency becomes the key
very
currency
important,
here.
very important, yes. And you never know where you might get a solution from.
That's also true.
So moving out of that physical space, moving out of that mental space is very, very important.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The light may come from any direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to keep seeking. Okay, so with that, I think I come to the conclusion part. And my very last question to you, Rishikesh, is what advice would you like, or what experience, or let's say, what would be your parting words for this episode that you would like to leave our audience with? So that if they are moving to any new geography, based on your experiences, based on your journey so far, what has helped you, what has worked for you, is something that they might be able
Okay.
to replicate.
So situation. So talking about my situation, I think 15 months prior, I didn't know I'm going to be in this country today,
Hmm.
which means I don't know after 15 months where I'm going to
Where
be.
will you be?
So why lose your permanent peace for temporary situation?
Hmm.
I think those are my only parting words. So we, I think, spend too much time fixing our temporary situation and lose our permanent peace.
I think we also like to live in either mostly in the past or in future possibilities, which we
Absolutely.
have zero control of,
Correct.
and we lose our peace of mind being in the past and being in living in the future,
Correct.
uh, and messing
Absolutely.
up our present.
So might as well enjoy or make the most of the moment that we are living right now. That's why it's called a gift. That's a beautiful saying, isn't it?
Yes, yes,
And
it's the dialogue from Kung Fu Panda.
correct. And I mean, the other thing that we try to tell ourselves every time whenever we feel overwhelmed about being in a new country is try to think of yourself as a tourist
Hmm.
and you're here only temporarily.
Yeah.
That's how you start enjoying. The problem is if you start thinking you're permanent, you start thinking way ahead in life.
Hmm.
But if you think of yourself as a tourist and you're just here to enjoy, I think the same road starts looking more beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So don't take things too seriously.
This is a beautiful advice, and it took me to my situation where I was around 2019, 2020, just
Mhm.
before the pandemic came. And it was that time that, okay, I was trying to find my base here more like, let's say, professionally than
Right.
socially. I developed a decent social circle, but what was hitting me hard was I wasn't able to find a job here or
Hmm.
work, find work opportunities for myself. And I used to constantly think about, when are we moving back to India? When are we moving back to India? Realizing, and that's the same thought when you said this, that we spend too much of our time, thinking about future, and we think ourselves settling here permanently, and we are not able to enjoy where we are what can we do with the opportunity that we have right in our hand. And
Absolutely.
yes, and I think probably, I don't know if we connected pretty much around the same time or what happened. This part I do not remember. But yeah, I definitely remember that, yeah, I stopped, let's say, thinking too much about it. And I was thinking more in terms of, okay, now that I am here, how can I make the most out of it? What can I do to make the most, to make my situation better? What initiatives I can take at the end of the day, whether it's socially, whether it is networking with people for work or whatever it could be. But at the end of the day, it's you who has to take that initiative. And that again circles me back to where we started in the very beginning of our conversation of taking that initiative, which you took.
Absolutely.
In building your community.
Correct. So, I mean, we can either cry about the past, we can worry about the future, or you can enjoy about the present.
Yes.
The option is open to everyone.
Yes, absolutely. The option is open to everyone. And I think on that note, I would like to say thank you so much to you, Rishikesh, once again for making this podcast happen. I'm sure our audience would have gained a lot through our candid conversation that we had today, and they might have taken some takeaways out of it. To all our audience, if this is the first episode that you're watching, do check out the other episodes as well. They are based on different thematic areas of education, of life in Luxembourg, of finding your own community, mother tongue, so on and so forth. I mean, there are different things that you can explore on the channel. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media platform. I'm there on Instagram. And if you are more of an audio person, then you can listen to our episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or whichever podcasting platform that you choose. With that, thank you so much. Have a good time. I'll see you in the another episode.
Thank you, everyone.